All right, ladies and gentlemen, you are welcome to another great episode on your favorite political talk show, The Truth with Ben Jokes. Now, the major activity on this channel is to continue to highlight the major problems bedeviling our country and how we desperately need a change in our thinking to rescue this sinking ship called Nigeria. We cannot have a small group of people eating up the country's treasury and you expect us to turn a blind eye. And for those of you watching this video right now who still think that the Tinubu administration and the APC mean well for Nigeria, I want you to take a look at this breakdown from the 2025 budget. Nigeria's health budget is 46 billion naira for 200 million people. Nigeria's education budget is 48 billion naira for 200 million people, supposed. Nigeria's legislators' budget is 125 billion naira for 465 people. So, healthcare 46 billion, education 48 billion, but National Assembly, the 465 members of the National Assembly will take 125 billion. Is this not daylight robbery? This is why we keep crying that people, Nigerians, must wake up to rise against this political class. And a few hours ago, a protest broke out in Ibadan. University of Ibadan medical students protest 100-day power outage at University College Hospital. This is the same Nigeria that Tinubu and his men claim that foreigners are flying into for medical treatment. What an irony. And just as Nigerians were yet reacting to that update from the CBN, the Central Bank of Nigeria, began making the rounds. The CBN governor, CARDOSO, has brought some strange women into the CBN and they are wreaking financial havoc on the bank. Before I show you details of these top stories and how Nigerians reacted, let me quickly show you this video. You know, when the Minister of Agric under Jonathan, the man, Akinwumi Adesina, became president of the African Development Bank, many expected that Nigeria would benefit immensely. But many years down the line, there seemed to be nothing coming from him. But in this interview, he actually confirmed that many African countries had benefited from the bank under his leadership, and that as a matter of fact, $4.4 billion has been given to Nigerian governors who approached him for money to develop special agro-industrial processing zones in each of the 36 states of Nigeria. But where are the agro-industrial processing zones today? See the video.
You know, Africa has 65% of the uncultivated arable land left in the world to feed 9.5 billion people by 2050, or maybe 10 billion people by 2050. And so what Africa does with that agriculture is going to determine the future of food in the world. So when I was elected president of the bank, of course, given my experience, I'm an agricultural economist by training, and I've worked globally all of my life in different areas. And so I know exactly what needed to be done. And so I launched something called a High Five program to light up and power Africa, to feed Africa, which is the second one, to industrialize Africa, to integrate Africa, and to improve the general quality of life of people. So that has to be education, water, sanitation, health, and skills and jobs and all of those things. But in the case of agriculture that you mentioned, I launched through the African Development Bank a $25 billion program over 10 years to turn around agriculture for the continent. And look, we are making incredible progress, and I'll tell you a few about it. For example, take a look, you're talking about the issue of wheat. You know, in Ethiopia, in 2008, we have a program called Technologies for African Agricultural Transformation that brings together the global agricultural research system, the national agricultural research system, the regional agricultural research system, and the private sector, right? And we were able to provide them with drought-tolerant seed varieties of wheat. Those heat-tolerant wheat varieties, the Prime Minister is a good friend of mine, Prime Minister Abiy. You know, they started cultivating in Ethiopia. I think they did 5,000 hectares in 2018. Do you know how much they did last year?
How much?
2.2 million hectares.
From 500,000 hectares?
Yeah. And within 4 years, they became self-sufficient in wheat. And now Ethiopia, for the first time in its history, is a net exporter of wheat. So today we are investing about over $3 billion in that in more than 11 countries. In Nigeria, for example, I helped to put together an $851 million program in Nigeria. Ourselves, African Development Bank, Islamic Development Bank, the International Fund for Agriculture, we were able to do that. And the Africa Investment Forum, which we held in December last year, I got governors across from Nigeria that came into a boardroom with me about how we can raise more money for this in Nigeria. Guess what? We wanted to raise $750 million. We raised $2.2 billion for that for Nigeria. And later, that has grown to $4.4 billion. So now we'll be able to develop those special agro-industrial processing zones in all states of Nigeria, all the remaining states, all 36 states, and the Federal Capital Territory. So this is working in several African countries. It's also going to have to work in Nigeria. So those are some of the things that we did.
You heard that. He said this is working in other African countries. It has to work in Nigeria too. Well, I am sad to announce to you, Professor Akinwumi Adesina, that your $4.4 billion is gone. I am, in fact, surprised that after serving as a minister in Nigeria for years, Akinwumi Adesina could still entrust such amount of money into the hands of Nigerian government. But you heard what Ethiopia did with what they got from the African Development Bank. They went from producing 5,000 hectares of wheat to 2.2 million hectares of wheat. And now Ethiopia, for the first time in its history, is a net exporter of wheat, courtesy of Akinwumi Adesina-led African Development Bank. But Akinwumi Adesina is from Nigeria. In fact, he has served as a minister before. Yet, this country cannot take advantage of that amount of money that is available to that African Development Bank. Instead, our governors went there to scam him, went there to do yahoo yahoo, to collect $4.4 billion that they want to establish agro processing zones in the 36 states of the country. Have you heard of any, you are living in your own state, have you heard of any program going on where the governor is setting up any agro-industrial processing plant? Nothing like that where I am. I've traveled around. There's nothing like that going on anywhere. $4.4 billion gone. I keep saying it. The problem of Nigeria is not lack of funds. We have enough money to do whatever, to do most of the things that we want to do. It is just mismanagement. Anytime you hear that our people took loans or they got grants from anywhere, they are just going to embezzle all the money. And that was why Donald Trump stopped his aids to Nigeria and some of these other countries. But these other African countries are beginning to pick up. They are beginning to embrace what true leadership is. And just as I keep saying, very, very, very soon, Nigeria will be completely left behind in Africa. Because if countries like Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger Republic, who have now installed military leaders, can start upholding the tenets of good leadership, then I pity Nigeria in few years to come. Now, let us look at the top stories. First is that protest in Ibadan. The medical students of UCH are protesting 100 days of blackout in the hospital. What is going on in Nigeria? 100 days of blackout after Tinubu promised that he was going to pay 50% of their light bills. He has failed to fulfill his promises to all the institutions in Nigeria. And next is that terrible update coming out of the Central Bank of Nigeria. Central Bank Governor Yemi CARDOSO is doing the unthinkable in the Central Bank. Let's start by taking that update from Ibadan. Look at how the papers reported it. University of Ibadan medical students protest 100-day power outage at University College Hospital. Sahara reporters. Students of the University of Ibadan College of Medicine in Oyo State have taken to the streets to protest the prolonged power outage at the University College Hospital UCH Ibadan. On Monday, they stormed the hospital, expressing frustration over the lack of electricity for over 100 days. The News Agency of Nigeria reports that the Minister of Power, Bayo Adelabu, and the Ibadan Electricity Distribution Company management were at UCH during the demonstration. The students displayed placards with inscriptions such as "We are tired of 100 days of darkness, save UCH," and insisted that the minister must resolve the crisis, which they said had disrupted their academic and clinical activities. The student union president, Bolaji Aweda, stated the union demands immediate restoration of power to UCH. According to him, the students also demand that the 50% waiver the government promised to the tertiary healthcare facilities be implemented. They further called for urgent reforms in the health sector to prevent a recurrence of such crises. In response, the minister assured that the government and UCH management would address the root cause of the outage. He promised a permanent solution, stating that the institution would soon be reconnected by IBEDC. The IBEDC disconnected UCH from the national grid on 27 October due to accumulated debts. Meanwhile, Sahara reporters had reported on Sunday how patients at UCH Ibadan endured severe discomfort and risk to their health due to a prolonged power outage that has persisted for 4 months. You heard that. 4 months without power supply in a hospital. Some things are just unforgivable, especially in politics. There are certain things that you will do and the people of that region will totally give up on you. And this is not even something that can be talked about with levity. We are not talking about 1 week here, 7 days without power. We are not talking of 8, 9 days or 10 days. 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 days. The person that left you in darkness for 40 days, 50 days is telling you that you are not a human being. What the Minister of Power is telling you, and that IBEDC, the Ibadan Electricity Distribution Company, what they are saying is that you guys are not human beings. A hospital where people's lives are on the line. The people of Oyo State, Ibadan, should look at this incident, and anybody from the southwest that is listening and watching this thing going on, for that matter, should be able to totally reject the APC if you have anything in your head called a brain. And Bubbles here says, their professors rewrote election results in favor of a drug lord. They should hold them accountable. That is it. Your professors were one of those who rigged in the APC. Oluwadamilare here says, the government that doesn't care about the future and health care of her citizens, this is how they behave. No value for education. No value for education, no value for human lives. And that is typical APC. And just as Nigerians were yet reacting to this, that ugly update from the Central Bank of Nigeria regarding the governor, Olayemi CARDOSO, began making the rounds. Look at how the papers reported it. Nigerian Central Bank directors protest as CARDOSO bypasses protocols to appoint female consultants with exorbitant salaries. Sahara reporters. Tensions are running high at the Central Bank of Nigeria as senior staff members express outrage over the influence wielded by 2 female consultants, Nkiru Balong and Daphne Dafinome, who were brought in by Governor Olayemi CARDOSO. These consultants have allegedly amassed significant power, allowing them to issue directives to departmental directors across the bank's 29 departments, Premium Times reports. The controversy surrounding these consultants has sparked widespread anger among staff members who are unhappy about the high compensation they receive monthly. Governor CARDOSO, who took office on September 22, 2023, is facing criticism for his decision to bring in these consultants. Meanwhile, the trio has become a subject of ridicule among bank staff who have dubbed them CARDOSO women. According to CBN directors, Governor CARDOSO unilaterally appointed the consultants without adhering to established protocols, failing to provide clear terms of reference, deliverables, or timelines for their work. They said they are consultants, but they have permanent offices in the bank, and their consultancies have no end dates. One director said, I am tempted to say that they are even more influential than the deputy governors. Their offices are on the 11th floor, just like the governors. The deputy governors are on the 10th floor, below the so-called consultants. They even bypass deputy governors to give direct instructions to directors. Another bank insider supported the director's claim, revealing that he once overheard one of the women confidently stating that if she draws a line at the bank, even the governor dare not cross it. Consultants earning salary of 15 directors. Staff members allege that Governor CARDOSO is paying Balogun and Dafeoni excessively high salaries. Specifically, they claim that Ms. Balogun receives 50 million naira monthly, surpassing the governors and deputy governors' salaries, as well as the combined pay of 15 directors who earn less than 3 million monthly. Meanwhile, Ms. Dafeoni allegedly earns 35 million naira monthly, exceeding the combined salaries of 10 directors. Why do you abuse your office to engage family and friends and make them millionaires this way? A staff member was quoted as saying, "It is disturbing because even Emefiele, with all his weaknesses, did not act with this impunity." These women are doing nothing. They are not adding any value to the bank. The governor is just enriching them because they are his friends. There are 29 experienced directors, 170 deputy directors, and over 400 PhD holders in the CBN. There is no need to domicile consultants in the bank. Wow, so heartbreaking. Central Bank of Nigeria has now turned to a place where a man will just bring in some women, place them above everybody, and start emptying the treasury into their purses. And a lot of people were saying in the comment section, alluding to, some things, about his relationship with those women. But I don't even want to go that direction. But why would you do this? And I can assure you that this is going on in every single parastatal in this country as we speak, every single agency, especially the ones that are headed by those Lagos boys that worked with Tinubu. The ones that Tinubu just picks those Lagos boys and puts there to head. The same way he picks them because they are his friends, they too will now start picking other people that worked under them. Just pollute the whole place with all manner of corruption of the highest order. This is heartbreaking. And listening to this as a Nigerian, especially those of you that still have soft spot for the APC, look at what they have turned your country into. How do you feel listening to this? These people are just running Nigeria like a one-bedroom flat. Bring in anybody you want to. This is such a shame. But of course, this is only going to get worse. As a matter of fact, if you see what the likes of Gbajabiamila and SGF are doing, if you see the appointments they are making, Gbajabiamila, you can just bring a boy to his office. If the boy lies down and he greets him, you say, this boy is very respectful. He knows how to lie down well like a Yoruba boy. He will just give him one appointment. Appointments are now shared like akara in Aso Rock. This is disheartening. But this is the APC, so I'm not surprised because they have come to steal, to kill, and to destroy. But who are those at the receiving ends? It is the people, it is you and I. And that is why I keep telling Nigerians that we must keep our sentiments aside. To be able to have a country in the nearest future, look at what other African countries are doing, and we are just lagging behind. For us to take our seat in the Committee of Nations, we must keep our sentiments aside, unite, and take our country back. But until then, make I still enter town. Make I go get some ogbonge political news. We will not go like. Why? Because of una. Now I dey here, so don't go away. Don't go away.